In this video, we'll be looking into the important topics of fifth module, that is jQuery and Ajax integration of full stack development subject 21 CS, 62 being the subject scheme. So starting from the first topic that we have is Ajax. Ajax specifies asynchronous JavaScript and XML files. So Django provides features for handling asynchronous requests. Those are facilitated by Ajax. So here Ajax allows web pages to update asynchronously without the need to reload the page. So without reloading the page, we can asynchronously update the values. Suppose I have a website, I have a web page, and to that web page, suppose let's say I have a web page of a portfolio website web page, let's say, and in that whatever name was there in the front end part is ABC, let's say, and in the back end part, when I'm writing the code, I've changed this from ABC to DEF. So when I've changed the value here, it has to reflect here. In order to reflect here, it has to load, right? It has to asynchronously load. So synchronously reload. Okay, so instead of doing this, I can avoid this and make use of Ajax. So this allows the websites or the web pages to update asynchronously without the need to reload the page. So to make use of Ajax, we should have necessary JavaScript libraries. So Ajax allows for smooth and more dynamic experience by fetching and displaying the data from server in the background without disrupting the current page. So this was about the introduction part of Ajax. We'll look into how it functions. So on the client side we have JavaScript. That is, on client side, JavaScript is used to make asynchronous request to the server. So on this side, on the client side, we are the ones who are accessing the web page, right? Or accessing any particular detail from the web page. That is client side. So we make use of JavaScript here. So libraries like jQuery are used to simplify Ajax calls. So JavaScript code is written to handle the events. That is, when I click the button, what has to happen, or trigger Ajax request to the Django server and so on. This was about the client side of Ajax part. So in the server side, we have Django views. So in Django views, Ajax requests handling by views. So views process the data. So from the views, we can process the data and provide an appropriate response. So this response could be of the JSON type, or it could be XML format, or it could be HTML format. We'll understand the communication between the client and server. So when I click a button, JS Ajax request is initiated, and after that a specific URL is produced, and from that URL it accesses or it requests the data from the server. So if the data is found in the server, it is given. If not, it is fetched from the database, and again response is given back. And here we follow the DOM model. So we'll look into this DOM model further. So this is how the user is requesting a particular data, and from the server side the data is fetched and is given back to the user through response. So we have studied this in CN, right? So the same logic applies here also. Next we have is DOM updation. So on the client side, we have DOM topic, that is document object model. So response is received from the server, that is JS code on the client, and JS code and client processes it further. So depending on the content of response, DOM may be updated to reflect the changes, display new data, or show error message. So DOM is like, basically the role of DOM is to interface, like allowing the scripts to update the data and structure in the real time it's happening, right? So it enables the live content changes, like without letting the user know, without reloading the content, we can update the value. So that is taken care here, document object model. Then we have error handling. So in client side, we have error rollback. In client side, when there are errors occurring like network errors or any other error, rollback occurs. That is entirely the same thing repeats again. Okay, on the server side, Django views are present. So Django views, advantages of Django views, we have studied that it can automatically detect the error and come up with appropriate response. So error responses are generated. So this was about error handling in the Ajax. Next we have technologies Ajax is overlaid on. We had this question in sample paper, guys. So go through this properly. So there are nearly 10 technologies. Here I have written 9. It depends on how many marks they have asked. If they have asked for 5 marks, make sure you write 8, and if it is for 10 marks, then you write all and expand it properly. First we have is the JavaScript. So JavaScript has the core role, that is primary scripting language. So JavaScript is used as a primary scripting language that helps the Ajax to make asynchronous requests. Okay. Then we have the interaction with DOM. Yeah, as we have discussed, dynamically updating the web page content. That is also done by the JavaScript only. Then error handling. Error handling is, it manages to handle several errors or the triggers which happen. Okay. Next we have is XML HTTP request. So XML HTTP request like helps us to set the server communication without page reloading. Request. So from server side only request will happen, right? So in this, the cross-browser issues can happen. That is, initially it is varied across the browsers, but leading to inconsistencies. If we are using this, like if you are making use of jQueries, this instance inconsistency could be standardized. Then we have the HTML part. HTML, we all know, it provides the basic skeleton for our web page. Then we have the CSS. CSS is used for like controlling the visual appearance, styling part and all. Then we have DOM also here. So DOM, again, the same definition which we have written above, data object model. It allows to do the interfacing between the scripts and the structure in real time. Then we have the XML part. XML is extensible markup language. So this is this was used in Ajax for structured server responses, and we can make use of JSON replacement. That is largely replaced by the JSON due to its ease of use with the JavaScript in case of XML. Coming to JSON. JSON is JavaScript object notation. So it is lightweight and natively supported by JavaScript, and we can easily pass this, and this is used by the client side for exchanging the data in Ajax part. Then we have the jQuery. We had discussed what jQuery is, right? So it is one of the libraries which is used. So yeah, jQuery definition is, it provides easier methods to make the Ajax calls and perform the Ajax operations. Then we have server-side technology. In server-side technology, here we are looking at Django. So Django will handle the request, the business logic, or if we have to interact with a database and all, that is taken care by Django. Then we have HTTP or HTTPS. So this is a communication protocol. We all know how this works and all, right? Yeah, so that's it. These are the technologies Ajax is overlaid on. Next we have is a program usage of Ajax in Django, or they can also ask is create an application that allows user to submit a form asynchronously using Ajax. So firstly, we have created a project called as Ajax example and an application called Ajax app. So in URL part, I'll be doing this alteration, that is from django.urls.import path, I'm importing the path. From Ajax app, I'm importing views. So Ajax app is the application name, and from that I'm importing the view.py here. So further, URL pattern is equal to path view.index, comma name is equal to index. So I'm importing, or I'm linking the URL, performing the URL configuration for views.index. So from the view, again index.html I have created, right? So that one I am linking it here. Next, path Ajax submit / views.ajax submit, name is equal to Ajax submit. So I'm making use of two templates. One is the view.index, other one is view.admin submit. So it is index and it is Ajax submit. Okay, these two are, I am linking it here, performing the configuration settings part. I'm configuring those templates here. Next, I have the index part. So for those, I'll be writing the index part, right? So index.html only, this template for index page, we know this. So first, HTML head title is Ajax form submission, and followed by that I am specifying the script part here. So this is src is equal to https ajax.googleapps.com Ajax library jQuery. I'm installing, or I'm calling the jQuery library here, right? So to import that, I'll be writing this particular script part. So this script is very essential, very important while dealing with Ajax operations. Okay, after this, close the script head. Then in body, I'm specifying Ajax form submission. Next, form ID is equal to Ajax form. So form ID would be stored as Ajax form. Then label for input data, I am entering the data here. Next, input type is text. So the input which I have entered is text. And after that, I have a button also here. That is button type is equal to submit, and here it is submit button. and the form part ends here. Next I have the division part, divided part. After that I have result here. Then script part, again I have written it here, static Ajax app JS main.js, and I'm ending the script part, body part and HTML part. So here this template is used for the index page. Next we have the JS code to handle form submission using Ajax. So the first line that is $document.ready function. This specifies, or this ensures that the JS code inside the function will only run after the DOM, that is structure of web page, is fully loaded, this particular line. After that we get into the inside part, that is here we are doing Ajax form.submit function event. That is here I am binding a function to form submission. I am binding a function to form submission event with ID as Ajax form. So when this form is submitted, code inside this function will get executed. Next, event.prevent default. Event.prevent default means like if we look at the normal forms, once I do any change, it'll reload, right? So this page will reload and then the changes would be reflected. But then here I want it to affect asynchronously. So to prevent that default from default form behavior, I'll be making use of event.prevent default. Okay. Next I have var input data is equal to input data dot val. So this means that it retrieves the value from input field with ID as input data and stores the value in input data. Next, next here we have Ajax type is equal to post. That is start a Ajax request. So after that we have Ajax type is equal to post. Sorry, here only we are starting a Ajax request. Here one line is missing. So here we have to start a Ajax request, and after that I'll be specifying here type part. So here type is equal to post. Type is equal to post means it is a HTTP method. That is post. That is the data will be sent to the server. Okay. Next I have the URL. That is I'll define the server part. That is to whom I should send. Okay. Next the data. What data would be sent? That is specified here. Next after that success. Success is equal to function response. That is this is the callback function. It will run if Ajax request is successful. Okay. Next I have $result.text response message. So here I'm making use of the function. Function response is done here. Next I have result part. So result with the message received in the response form server would be printed here. After that I have error here. That is error function XHR error message would be displayed. That is I will define a callback function that will run if Ajax request fails. Then finally I am giving Ajax request as .text as error occurred if error occurs. So I'm closing the entire thing. So this particular code is written in the main.js file. Next I have views.py. So in this, from Django.shortcuts import the render. To render the response, to render the details, I should make use of render function. After that JSON response. JSON response is being imported here from Django. Then define the index. Yes, we had made use of index here, right? Index part. So that is called here. Back then I told index as the template, but it is not a template, it is a function. Okay. So return render request Ajax app / index.html. So from the index.html, that is this index.html, the details would be returned. Okay, and it is rendered. Okay. Then define Ajax submit as request. So here Ajax submit. If request.method is post and request is Ajax. So if this condition is satisfied, that is the request method should be post. That is to post some data into the server. I have to post something to the server, right? And along with that, request dot is Ajax. So whatever the request we have obtained should be Ajax. So if these two conditions are satisfied, input data is equal to request.post.get input data. So input data would be fetched from index.html and it would be stored in input data. After that, response data is equal to message. In the message part, form submitted would be given as the response. So if this is satisfied, if this if loop, if these two conditions are satisfied, we'll get into this part, input data, and after input data we'll come to the response data part, and after that return the JSON response data. So this would be printed here. If the entire thing is proper, if the method is proper and request.is Ajax is true, then we will give the JSON response as response data. Else it would be JSON response as error would be displayed here. So this was about the program of Ajax in Django, or it could be asked as application to submit a form asynchronously. So this is an important program, I would say. Moving on further, we have settings required for JavaScript use in Django. We have discussed what JavaScript is, what are the benefits of JavaScript. Further looking into the steps required for JS use in Django. So the first step is to make sure that the Django static files are set up here. So Django static files are those files which store the static details, like it could have static files as CSS, JavaScript, or images or videos are not static files. Okay, so yeah, in settings.py part we will define the URL to see when referring to the static files. So in the settings, static files would be there I will mention static. Okay, so after this we will collect all static files into a single dictionary, that is Python manage.py collect static. So after collecting the static files, now I am good to go. That is yeah, I can execute further. So I'll make use of I'll organize the JavaScript files. So under my project, that is the project name, I'll be making use of an application, that is my app. Under my app I should create a static file in which again my app template would be there, JS would be there, and script.js would be there. In my app, in this outside wala my app, I'll have templates, and inside that I'll have my app again index.html. So this is how the JavaScript files would be organized. Moving further, that is to load the JavaScript in templates. So in this step I'll be loading the JavaScript files in my HTML templates. I can make use of the loading part by using the tags here. So looking at the code, HTML heading, title, script, I'm mentioning the script here, then head, body, yeah, done. That's it. So this was a pretty simple part. Here I'm printing in the body, I can print welcome to my web page or something. So I'm loading it here. Okay, next after this I'll be using the JavaScript frameworks or the libraries in that is the jQuery. So again, for that I should write script src is equal to https code jQuery.com jQuery. I'll specify the entire URL, again close the script part. So after specifying here, I'll be downloading the library files and place them in static dictionary. This may be done or may not be done. This step is optional. After doing this, my fifth step, that is to handle the Ajax with Django. So in views.py part, I'll write from django.http import the JSON response, and I'm defining m as a function request. Data is equal to message hello. So this data has to be printed as the JSON response. So return JSON response as data. So this was in the views part. In the main.js part, I'll be making Ajax call to the Django view. That is Ajax, starting the Ajax performing the initiation of Ajax. So URL I'm specifying my Ajax URL. Again the method is get method here, and success is function response. So when we get function response, I have to display it or declare it. So that's pretty much about the fifth step. Then after this I can look into the security considerations if required. That is, I should make sure that CSRF attacks should not happen to our website, right, to our web page. So that also could be done. So these are the steps required for JavaScript use in the Django application. So guys, again I'm repeating, this is an important question which could be asked for 10 marks. So make sure you cover this question. Further we have list and explain jQuery Ajax functionalities. So explaining these, firstly we have jQuery simplifies Ajax interaction by providing set of methods that allow to easily send HTTP request, manipulate, response, and update web pages dynamically. So we have understood what jQuery is in the previous topic, right? So these are the facilities which are provided by jQuery. First one is $.ajax. So this is a flexible Ajax method used in jQuery. So it will help us to configure various settings and handle the complex scenarios. So in this jQuery, in this Ajax method, we'll have the URL we have seen here. We'll have the URL, method, success, and along with success, we'll have the data type, date, error are all the key settings here. Next, coming to get. So in get method, I'll be performing the get request. So here I'll have the URL data and callback if the get feature or the get function is not obeyed properly, and then what type of data it is, data type. Next I have is the post part. So post request. So here again I'll have URL, data, callback, and data type. Next I have $.getJSON. So getJSON means I'll get the request. I'm making use of get request that accepts the JSON response. That is, here I'll have the URL, data and callback. Next I have get script. In get script, it is to load and execute the JavaScript file via get method. So here again I'll have the URL and callback. Next I have $ajax.setup. So this is used for setting the default headers, global error handling, or defining default data types from the requests. So moving further, we have $ajax.start and ajax.stop. So this is to initiate the method, like providing the operations or updating the values dynamically, and this is to stop. And again we have ajax.error and ajax.success. That is, if the .ajax condition is satisfied, ajax.error won't appear. That is, it won't go through this loop. And if it fails, if it is obeying, then it will be in the ajax success part. So this was about the jQuery Ajax facilities. So again, this could be asked for 5 marks, guys. So make sure that you know these points thoroughly, and what is the definition of URL, what is type, what is data type, what is data success. So if this is of 10 marks, make sure you write an example. So initially you declare everything, initially you specify everything. That is, what is a URL, what is a type, what is a data type, what is the data success and error. So you specify all this in the first line, and after that with each method you give an example. Like here we have seen an example, right? So for URL I specified something, method I wrote get, success I mentioned a function, and success I mentioned a function. So similarly write for all these methods. So this was about jQuery Ajax facilities. Let's move further. We have XHTML, HTTP request and response. So this is again an important topic. All the topics which I have covered in this video are from the sample paper only. So as we have time constraint and 5th module being slightly difficult, I have covered only the model question paper questions, and even the internal questions are included here. So XHTML is a variant of HTML that follows the rules of XML development. So HTML request, we all know what HTML request and response is. So HTML request tells incoming HTTP request from a client to the Django server. So it collects the metadata about request like header, method, URL, query parameters, and so on. So the request has several key components here. So it has the request line, that is, it will comprise of HTTP method, that is either get or post, URL of the resource, HTTP version, and so on. Next we have the header. So it will have the detail about the request, who is the host, what is the user agent, accept, that is the type of content client has to handle. Along with that, the body part, whatever the code, HTML code which you have written would be there. No, sorry, in case of request, there is no HTML code. You are just requesting it, right? So in case of post request, body may have data sent from the client to server. Yes, in case of post, this condition would be there. In case of get, there won't be any body part. I mean, we may not specify anything there. Next, we have the example here. So get example.html, and here I have specified the version. So get is the keyword, and after that example.html, that is, I am specifying like the URL of the resource, and after that what is the HTTP version also I am specifying here. Next, host, I am specifying the URL here. After that, accept, that is application, I am accepting the application XHTML plus XML. The text, it has to be of text HTML, and Q value, I don't know what it is, Q. Then accept language, so again English, yes. Then I have accept encoding, so it is gzap and deflate. And after that I have user agent, so it is Mozilla Firefox is the user agent, and connection is to keep alive. So this was about the HTTP request part. Looking at the response part, we have HTTP response. It is the server will respond to the client's request, and with several components. So firstly we have the status line, that is okay, 200 or 404 not found errors and all of that. Then we have the header part, which will be content type, length, and in the body part we have content being returned. Looking at an example here, we have HTTP 1.1 200, okay, that is like the status line is clear here. Then we have content type, specifying the content type, that is application, which is combination of XHTML plus XML. Then it is of character type. Then we have context length and the language which is being used, and what is the cache control. Maximum age is 3600. Then we have when is the last modified date, followed by the e tag, and we have the server on which it is running. So this was about XHTML, HTTP request and response. So if they ask XHTML request and response, make sure you write the definition first and make sure you write these components also and provide an example. Next, moving further, we have iframe utilization in Django for content loading. So for iframe utilization, we'll be following these steps. So the first one is to embedding. So the processes are, the first one is embedding Django views. So iframes can load content from another view within the same project. It is useful for displaying different section of page without refreshing it. So here iframe is used in HTML basically. Okay. So it is one of the the paragraph tag. It is one of the tags here. So iframe I'm specifying it as. src is equal to URL view name and closing the URL. Here I'm specifying the width and height also, and iframe is closed here. So here I'll be calling this. I'll be embedding this particular URL in the iframe during the content loading. When this HTML page runs, this particular view .py, that is view name, would be loaded here, would be embedded into the Django views part. So this was about the first point. Second we have is loading external content. So in order to load the external content, we can make use of the URLs, or the external contents could be videos, maps, third-party services, and so on. So it could be iframe src is equal to abc.com. So here I'm specifying the URL of external content and I'm loading it here. Width and height again the same would be specified here. Yes. Next I have dynamic content loading. In dynamic content loading, change the content based on the user. So we have an example. Button on click is equal to doc.getElement by id my name my iframe.src is equal to this URL, and it is changed to another view. Load the content button. So depending on the type of user, the content is varying here. So that is again a utilization of iframe for the content loading. Next we have is the security consideration. So we have iframe src is equal to abc.com, and here I'm specifying the sandbox, which allows all sorts of scripts. So by making use of sandbox, we can avoid any if there is any threat or if there is any error which could occur, we can avoid all those things by making use of sandbox function. Then we have responsiveness and design. That is, the entire content loading would be consistent, and we are specifying the width and height also, right? So the aspect ratio would be standard, and along with that it provides a good experience. That is, if we resize our particular window, then there should not be any fluctuations, right? It has to properly display. So for that we can make use of. Next topic we have is the JSON used with Ajax in Django development. So understanding the definition, JSON is a lightweight data interchange format that is easy for humans to read and write, and easy for machines to parse and generate. So based on the subset, JSON is based on the subset of JavaScript programming language. So it is language independent. That is, we can make use of this in most of the programming languages. Then we have JSON is used for transmitting data between server and web application. Then JSON is a simple, easy data is represented as key value pairs. So this was the introduction part of JSON. Looking at the steps, so there are majorly 3 steps happening here. First step is to create a Django view for handling the Ajax request. We are creating a view part. After that, return JSON response from Django view. We have returning the response, and make a Ajax call using jQuery. That is, in main.js we'll be specifying the contents part. So starting from the program, looking at the program, firstly from django.http import JSON response, I'm importing the JSON response. Along with that, django.view.decorators, I'm importing require HTTP methods. Okay. Next, define example view. Then if request.method is post and request.method is Ajax. So if these two are satisfied, I'll look into the data part. That is, message would be hello and status would be success. And finally, I'm returning this data as the response. That is, return JSON response as HT as data. Then if this fails, if these two conditions fail, then I'll directly jump on to return JSON response. Error has occurred and status is equal to 400. Next, looking at the URL part. Now that we have specified the details, we'll create a view that will receive the post request, right? And processing the data has happened in the views part. Next, further we'll have to map the view part to the URL part. So for that we'll be specifying here. So again, guys, here first 2 lines, that is to import the path, and from views I'll be importing the example view. After that I'll write this URL pattern is equal to path Ajax example view name is equal to Ajax example. So I'm specifying like what I have to map with to the URL in our Django project. Next, coming to main.js. In main.js I'll be specifying the Ajax call part. Okay. So first I have document.read function. So this document.read function is it will make sure that it will run only after the document, that is the web page, is fully loaded. Once the web page is fully loaded, I'll get into further, that is a $mybutton.click function. So if when I click the button, that is my button, the processing should start. So next further I have Ajax. So I am calling the Ajax function or process like initiating a Ajax request here. So next URL, I'm looking into the URL, that is the endpoint for Ajax request. That is, it has to dynamically generate the URL template tag here. So URL Ajax example template tag is being used here. Then in post, like in type, I'm specifying the HTTP method. That is, in post means I'm sending the data to the server. Next I have data. Data is equal to CSRF token. CSRF token is used to I am sending a data with request, and along with that CSRF token is also there. That is to prevent CSRF attacks, I should include this. Then I have data type as JSON. So I'm specifying what is the data type, like what is the expected response I want anta. Then adadmele we have success. So in success function response andre I'm using a callback function here, that is to execute if Ajax request is successful. Then I have result.html response message, that is I am checking if the server response has success status, that is success status was for this. Then here in this I'll be checking or updating the HTML content of element with the result part, the result with the message from the server. And next I have else part. In else part, if the response is not success, we have to display result as error has occurred anta. Then adadmele we come here error function. So this is like a callback function again. If Ajax request has failed, then I should give the output as Ajax request failed. Okay, so this was about the main.js part. Next we have the template.html. So we had made use of template.html, right? So we'll be specifying it here, that is button id is equal to my button, send Ajax request, and div id is equal to result, closing it up. So here I'm specifying the send Ajax request button. So this was about using JSON with Ajax in my Django application. So as I said, this question is pretty important. It could be asked for 10 marks. Moving on further, we have using jQuery UI autocomplete in Django. So for this query is like jQuery is a fast, small and feature-rich JS library. It simplifies various tasks like HTML document, traversal manipulation, event handling, animation, and Ajax interaction with web and so on. So the benefits of jQuery are DOM manipulation, event handling, Ajax support, cross-browser compatibility, extensibility, animation. So the answers for the explanation for all these points are being like you'll get it in the compiled notes. So just go through it. It will be available in the G drive only. Link is in the description. Yeah. Next, looking at the example here. So we have in my project, in my app, I'm in view.py, I'm writing this. That is from Django.shortcuts, I'm importing render. Define index as request, return render, request, my app index.html. I'm returning my app index.html as the response. Further, index.html only I'm writing all this initial part. Here I'm calling the script part for the jQuery. Here after the script part I have document.getReady, that is we have seen in the previous. So if the document is loaded properly, if the website is loaded properly, we need to look inside. And here my button.click function, when the button is clicked, this function should happen. Alert button is clicked, that is to alert that the button is clicked. So this would be the output. And closing the script part, head part and button, here I'm creating a button of click me as the button title. So this was in the index.html. Looking at the URL part, so I'm importing the path, and after that from from Django .views in views I am importing the index, right? After that I'll write URL pattern is equal to path, the basic URL, the default URL configuration, index. I'm importing index, mapping index, name is equal to index. After that Python manage.py, I'm running the server. run server. So this setup demonstrates the integration of jQuery with the Django from scratch. So here we basically followed 3 steps. First step was to create a Django view for handling the Ajax request. After that, I returned the JSON response from Django view, that is return render part we have seen. After that, I am writing a Ajax call to use the jQuery. So this was about using jQuery UI autocomplete in the Django. Next, they can ask the differences between XML and JSON, or why XML is preferred over JSON. So these are pretty simple differences or definitions. So I would suggest you to go through this. It is pretty easy to understand. You can write it properly. Next, I have practices for optimizing the performance when using the Ajax in Django. So the first practice is to minimize the data transfer. That is to send only the necessary data and use the data compression methods. Next I have is to optimize the backend queries. So by making sure that my backend queries are properly written, they are optimized, I need not, there won't be any wastage of memory, and there won't be excess time considered for loading the responses. Then I have indexing. By indexing the values, it again becomes very easy. By indexing the database, the backend database, it becomes easier to fetch and retrieve the data or the information. Next I have the asynchronous processing, that is background tests should be performed and deferred loading, unnecessary loading should not happen. Then I have optimized the Ajax request, that is to debounce the inputs and batch requests. So these two are again simple concepts. Then we have efficient error handling, that is graceful degradation and error logging. So this was again, this could be asked for 5 marks. So next, moving on further, we have the program, that is to create a search application in Django using Ajax to display the courses enrolled by a student. So this question was asked in internals and it was asked in the sample paper also. Make sure you go through this particular problem thoroughly and understand it. So looking at the code, firstly we'll create a model form. So model.py from django.db, I'm importing the models. After that, class course, models.model, course as the name. Next, name I'm taking as input, class name, name I'm taking as name is equal to models.char field and specifying the maximum length as 100. Class, next, after that I'm specifying student as another functionality, models.model. Name again in student, I'm specifying the name and course. So I'm done with my modeling part. Next I'll have the forms part. So in forms part, from Django import forms, class student search form, forms.form. Student name is equal to forms.char field maximum length, taking input from the user. Okay, forms. Next I have views part. So I'm importing the render, JSON response, student from the model, and a student search form from the forms. So I'm defining the search student here, request form is equal to student search form. I'm creating a student search form here. I'll return the render as request search student.html form. So search student.html should be given out as the response. So again, after that I have search the courses. Now that I have searched the students, search the student, I have to search the course also. So request again. So if request.method is get and request.method is Ajax, if these two are satisfied, then student name would be request.get student name. The student name which is specified here would be called here, taken as input here. Again, student is equal to student.object.filter. After that, I'll be filtering that particular student, because I'll have to fetch the courses later, right? So in student.object.filter, name contains student name, not first. So by considering the student name, it will be filtered and stored. The student name would be stored in student. Okay. After that, I have courses is equal to list student.courses.values name. So depending on the name, the courses of that particular name would be listed in the courses. So if student, else, then it's empty. So I have to return JSON response courses as courses. So this particular courses where the student courses have been stored would be returned here. And in this part, if condition fails, then return JSON response as error, invalid info, and status is equal to 400. So we have understood how the view part works. Moving on further, we have the URLs part. That is in URLs, URL pattern, path search, views.search, So search has to be mapped. Okay, views.searchStudent name is equal to search student. So again, along with the student search, even the courses should be updated here or mapped here. That is path search courses view.search course name is equal to search courses. So after updating the URL value, next we'll look into the HTML part. So here this is search student HTML. So here I'm specifying HTML head title, and after that the script. I'm writing the script part, that is to make sure that the jQuery library is called here. So after that, body h1 search for the courses is the title. Then form ID is equal to, here I'm taking form ID is equal to search form and form.asp, and button type is equal to submit, search and button. So this will create a form with ID as search form. And after creating a search form, it will render a Django form as paragraphs including a submit button. So firstly, we are creating a search form. Here form ID is equal to search form, and then with the help of a button we are rendering it. Okay. After that we have H2 courses enrolled, and I have ID is equal to course list. So that is courses enrolled is the heading, and there is the unordered list with ID as course list, which are used for displaying the search results. Later we'll be updating the value here. So next, in script part will be mentioning that is document.getReady function. So this ensures that the Django script code runs once the document is fully loaded. Yeah, we know this. Next, I have search form.onSubmit function event. So this means that to submit an event to the form with the ID search form. With the ID submit. Okay. Next I have is event.prevent default. This is again, as we have discussed previously, to prevent the submission of the forms like the traditional way. It should not happen. This has to update the value using the Django request. Okay, that's what we are doing here. Next, Ajax, I'm specifying the URL. Along with that, I'm specifying the type, and I'm specifying the data also. That is, I am sending a Ajax get request here to the Django URL mapped to search courses, and the data is to get the data, and it is serialized. So I am serializing the form data for further transmission. Now I have success function data, and here courses list.empty. That is, on success I'll be clearing the existing courses list. Okay. Next I have, if data.courses.length is greater than 0, data.courses. For each function. If data.courses.length is greater than 0, then data.courses. For each function course, I'll have course list.append. I'm appending the course name. Along with that, if this fails, then no courses are found. After that, if these two if conditions fail, then I'll directly jump into this part. That is, course list empty.append error would be displayed. That is, I'm checking if any course are returned, and if the course is returned, then I add each course to the list. If no courses are returned, then I'll write no courses found. After that, if any error occurs during the request, I clear the list and display error occurred in the list. So after that, I'm closing all the parts. Okay. So this was about search application in Django using Ajax to display the course enrolled by a student. Next we have again a theory topic. So what are the methods, properties of XML HTTP request response objects? So starting from XML HTTP request object, looking at the methods. So we have open method here, send method, send request header, and abort method. So you can go through this, the notes would be uploaded. And we have properties. In properties we have ready state, status, the response to the text, and response XML as its properties. Moving on further, we have request object in Django. So methods are get, post, and is Ajax. Then properties are method, path, user, and header. Then request object in Django. Response object in Django, we have HTTP response and JSON response. Talking about the properties, we have content type, status, and char set. So I have tried covering all the important questions in this module. All the sample paper questions have been covered here. If you have any doubts, do let me know in the comments. And along with this, the combined notes would also be available in the G drive. That is, the link is present in description. Make sure you go through the notes properly and study properly for the exam. One more thing, guys, make sure that for each and every topic, if at all there exists any snippet of code, if at all there is any code related to that, make sure that you write it, because only if you write the code you will have weightage. Many of you had asked me if I study only theory questions, is it enough? No guys, clearly understand that full stack development is like a practical subject. You have to run the programs. It is all programming, right? It is all like you're developing the applications here. So theory has no importance except the first, second module. I don't think from third, fourth, fifth we have any theory. So make sure that you write the code snippets properly. Even if you don't know the code snippet also, make sure you write something, because the paper has to be filled firstly. Secondly, while the evaluator is checking, if he sees any code snippet is there, they might give marks. And after that, I would say that there are a set of standard questions which I have mentioned in the important questions video, and even in the module wise explanation also I have mentioned the important programs, important questions of 10 marks which could be asked. So make sure that you study them properly. And if we compare our SEPM paper and the model question paper, we can say that most of the questions were same except one or two. So make sure that you cover the model paper properly. If you have watched all my 5 videos, you'll be thorough with the all 5 modules, all the topics. And just if you have any doubts, do let me know guys. And thank you. Subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends. Okay, bye.